As the spiritual leader of a place of faith, Reverend Linda brings you a new lesson each week. Join us today as we share the path of spiritual enlightenment and evolution of consciousness with you. Our intention is to share content with you that encourages interest and expands the horizons of your journey. Our mission is to create a safe place to explore and develop personal, spiritual connections and relationships. Our vision is the joyous, loving acceptance of all people as an expression of divine spirit in the evolution of consciousness to oneness. All are welcome here.
Hi, thank you for joining us today. We are here in beautiful rural Tennessee. As the sun comes up, you're likely to see more of the incredible fall colors that are around me. You may hear the birds singing and greeting the day. It's beautiful. What a wonderful place to come to celebrate God and our faith as we grow spiritually. It's not like this everywhere, though, is it? In this day and age, it's hard to pretend that all is well in the world. We know that there are wars being fought with the threat of nuclear retaliation. We know that moms are waking up to find that their children have been murdered, that families are terrified their children are going to be taken and forced to fight in a war. Places that have never dealt with drought before are losing crops. People are starving. There is torture and torment. Countries are in unrest. Their people are being slaughtered because they want to choose what kind of clothing to wear. Wow. Where is God in all of this? And today, that's the message we're looking at. Where is God in the atrocities of life? It's a big topic, and before we get started, I invite you to join me in a time of centering prayer and meditation. So, let's just get comfortable, find a place you can lay down, you can sit down, and listen to my voice as we relax and have some positive affirmations. So when you get comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes or watch the screen, whatever keeps you from being distracted. And let's just consciously breathe together. And as we breathe, let's be aware of the air moving around us, to us, into us. Breathing it in, holding it close, and letting it go. And turn our attention to the divine, breathing it in, holding it close, and letting it go. God, we seek you now, breathing it in, holding it close, and letting it go. We have joined together now, God, breathing it in, holding it close, and letting it go. That we may be able to see your divine spirit, breathing it in, holding it close, and letting it go. Active in all things, in all areas, your love, breathing it in, holding it close, and letting it go. God, teach us to find you and to seek you in every situation, in light, breathing it in, holding it close, and letting it go. And in love, kindness and joy in every situation. God, breathing it in, holding it close, and letting it go. Let us see you. Let us know you. Let us find you and bring more of you into the world. Breathing it in, holding it close, and letting it go. Thank you, God, for all that is and all that will be. And so it is. Perfect. Breathing it in, holding it close, and letting it go. When you're ready, open your eyes, breathe in, hold that breath close, and let it go. That's really an easy exercise that we can do anytime that we want to get centered. If we're anxious, if we're worried, if we're afraid, that breathing it in, holding it close, and letting it go. Just please be aware of what you're breathing in. Breathing good, not anxiety. Breathe in peace, not fear. And you'll find that your body responds to that as you move forward through the day. So thank you. That helps me too. I hope you enjoyed it. Now let's look at where is God in the atrocities of life. I want to start with the official definition of the word atrocities, kind of get us all on the same page. So atrocities is a noun, plural, and it means an extremely wicked or cruel act, typically one involving physical violence or injury. If a person, okay, war atrocities is one. So where is God in the atrocities of life? And I think many of us are old enough to remember there have been movements that have claimed because there are atrocities in life, God has abandoned us and is no longer here. Even that God died, and we're silly for having that worship, that belief, and those traditions. The reality is God is everywhere present all the time. How can that be? When a child is in terror and calling out for help, where is God in that? Well, that's what I really want to look at today. And while we're doing definitions, let's take a look at a couple of more things. It is pretty well known that cold really doesn't exist. That's hard to believe, isn't it? We're watching the leaves behind me turn to fall, and that's a good indication winter is coming, and many of us have experienced cold. But cold is actually a lack of heat. Where heat is missing, cold is the side effect. That's true of dark as well. Dark exists when there's a lack of light. When there is no light, then darkness is the result. If you turn on a light, darkness doesn't exist. It's not a matter of they have to do battle. The truth is, one cannot exist where the other is. So when we look at cold and when we look at dark and then we look at good and evil, I invite you to accept the same logic. Evil exists as a lack of God. Now, that doesn't mean God isn't there. That sounds a little confusing, doesn't it? It means that God is being rejected or ignored. So let's look at someone with bulimia or anorexia or even on a hunger strike. They may starve themselves to death. That doesn't mean there isn't any food. It means they have chosen to ignore it, to not use it, to not have food be a part of their being, and eventually their physical form dies. Sometimes this is a result of disease or disease thinking, and sometimes it's an absolute choice. Good and evil are the same kind of way. Let me give you the example of kindness. I think just about each and every one of us can remember an absolute kindness that touched our lives. When somebody somewhere, a stranger, a family member, reached out to us in a way that they didn't have to. They didn't get anything from it, but it's something that we will never, ever forget. Their kindness literally changed our lives. If they hadn't done it, even though kindness existed all around and it was something that anyone could call on at any time, if nobody does, it isn't there. I invite you to look at the question of where is God in atrocities in very much the same way. God is everywhere present. We know there is no spot where God is not, right? God is everywhere in the world. However, we have the choice as to whether or not we are going to focus on God, which is all love, all goodness, all kindness, or not. And it's so easy to get caught up in whatever's going on. It might be tit for tat. Oh, they did this to me. I'm going to do this to them. And look away from everything that we could do to make a situation better. Sometimes our choices are very limited, our options are very small, but that doesn't mean that God isn't there in each and every situation. Sometimes our highest good doesn't look like or feel like what we think it should. Most of you know I was a drug and alcohol counselor for about 20 years. And one of the things that we did when working with families was teaching them about codependency and how family members, even when they didn't mean to, might be supporting the habits that were killing their loved ones. One of the videos that we showed was on codependency. And at one point in the video, it's got the picture of a mom on the inside of the door holding the door closed and her adult child on the other side of the door pounding on the door and demanding to be let in. And the idea behind that is the most loving thing the mother could do was hold that door. If the mother let the child in, then the child would be able to rob and sell whatever they found for drugs, and the mother would actually be supporting the drug habit. So, in this instance, the highest good is letting that child hit bottom. The highest good is letting that child come to a place where they're willing to change. And God's in all of that. Now, the child, of course, just wanted an opportunity to be safe and get more drugs and alcohol to support their habit. That was their whole center, everything they wanted in the world. But supporting that wouldn't have been the most loving thing. It's an interesting concept, and I've given it to you in just a little piece. It's really much bigger than that. And the point here is sometimes doing the God thing, the most loving, most giving, most wonderful thing we can for a loved one, might not be giving them exactly what they want. In our own lives, many of us have stories of adversity, and those adversities that we faced created changes in us that actually improved our lives. These are things we didn't realize usually going through that adversity. These are things that we would have avoided if we could, right? But in hindsight, in retrospect, we can see that these things served a greater purpose, gave us skills that we needed to live a better life. God is in that. We don't always see exactly how or exactly where. In Deuteronomy 13:8 and 9, we read, "The Lord goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged." That scripture can bring us great peace if we can wrap our minds around it. And sometimes we really can't. Sometimes what we can do is realize God might be here, even if I don't see God in action. Sometimes what we can do is step out of our anger and our fear and create an act of kindness for another human being. Maybe that's a matter of backing down and saying, maybe you're right, I'll look that up. Instead of, you're wrong, there's no way I'll ever tell you that. Don't know what it is, don't know how it is, but I know that God is there. And I know when we're looking at the atrocities of the world and when we're hearing about it on the news, that what we're hearing is really what the news most wants us to know. What we're hearing when we're being inundated with the media is what the media believes will get them the most money, will pay attention to it, will listen to it. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're lying to us, but it does often mean they're giving us pieces of information in a way that will improve their profits, that will help them somehow get more money, more whatever, and not necessarily what will bring us the best information. I would like to close with a poem out of a book called Mightier Than Circumstance. This book was written by Frank Whitney in 1955. Long time ago. It's also available to you free in a PDF, Mightier Than Circumstance. If you're interested in this book, and if you're having trouble seeing God in the atrocities of the world, I recommend this book. It's beautifully written. You can find it on the website truthunity.net. And you want to search for Frank Whitney. He's got 2 books there, and this one is from Mightier Than Circumstance. Truthunity.net is where you'll find this. And the name of this is Stop and Pray. So join me as I read this with you now. When things about you are disturbed and the world's amiss, when other persons seem to take away your joy and bliss, there is but one thing that you can do if you would clear your day. Cleanse thinking of disturbing things. Stop where you are and pray. Stop, look, and listen, warns the sign at the busy thoroughfare. And so in life, this warning's good to free you from all care. Stop thinking all disturbing thought and look to Christ instead, and listen to his guiding voice, if by him you would be led. And when in life you see that you have troubled thoughts in mind, there's but one thing for you to do if happiness you'd find. Stop, look, and listen. Stop and pray. Let Christ have his own way. You'll find your troubles come to an end if you but stop and pray. Thank you for joining me this morning. I hope that we've been able to explore how the atrocities of the world keep happening and where God is in the midst and all around it. Have a wonderful, blessed day. Namaste.
A lot of us grew up believing at any moment we could lose it all. At the drop of a hat, God might turn his back and move on. A lot of us feel like we blew it, thinking that we're just too far gone. But I want you to know that there's still hope for you now. And no matter what you've done, you can't erase his love. Nothing can change it. You're not separated, no matter what. There's never been a better time to get honest. Never been a better time to get clean. So come as you are, run to the cross and be free. No matter what you've done, you can't erase his love. Nothing can change it. You're not separated, no matter where you run. He's always holding on. You're still a daughter, you're still a son, no matter what. You're still a daughter, you're still a son, no matter what.
Follow us on Facebook for daily meditations, prayers, and all of our videos. If you know of anyone anywhere who is struggling with spirituality or who wants a spiritual community, please share our videos. Commenting, liking, subscribing, and sharing are also ways to support us and help us grow. Reverend Linda is available by phone, Facebook Messenger, or Zoom conference for spiritual and ministerial counseling, guidance, and direction on a love offering basis. She can be reached through A Place of Faith at sohomail.com or through Unity Church of El Cajon. A Place of Faith is sponsored by Unity Church of El Cajon at 311 Highland Avenue, El Cajon, California, 92020. You can send donations there. Just put APOF on the check, or you can also contact us through our website at www.unityofelcajon.org and make your donations on the website. Thank you for your support.